Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be taking a look at the What? Bro, I'm trying to record a video. Is he typing? Oh, multiple layers? Wait. No. No. Come on. No. No! I guess we're taking a look at the Aeronautica Iceberg again. This time it has been refreshed with some new entries that are relatively more modern, which is really cool. But before I start, consider giving this channel a subscribe, this video a like, and the comment section down below a comment. Now let's begin. The sky. Upcoming snow and desert continent. This refers to future continents that will be added to Aeronautica, which is what I would have said if it was 5 months ago. But now Azir has been released, so it is only the desert continent that we're waiting for. The progress for these continents are on the Aeronautica roadmap and you can check them at any time. Developer and event planes. This most likely refers to the various special planes in the game that are not accessible to the general public. For example, every single developer gets their exclusive plane, and the staff team also gets a pool of staff vehicles to use. Furthermore, every once in a while there will be events offering so-called event vehicles for the winners. These vehicles are rare and highly sought after, and while they were tradable, they would have traded for 20 million WP or some ridiculous number. People are offering to buy them for 100 mil, so you know. And if you're wondering, I don't have any event vehicles. I'm just straight up unlucky. I came close to winning, but not close enough. Just have bad luck. Anyways, special color roles purge. On the Aeronautica Discord, there are special cosmetic roles that can change your username color. You can change which color your username is by picking the associated role in the role request channel. However, there are some rare color roles that are only given out to important people. For example, the red but better role is an example of the special color roles. Long story short, a bunch of these roles were removed because the server became really hard to manage with so many color roles. Neo Warfare X. Some consider this the sister game to Aeronautica as it does have the same flight systems as Aeronautica. However, this game did come before Aeronautica and laid down most of the framework for Aeronautica. Oh, and did I mention PvP is possible in Neo Warfare? This was an event conducted by High Admiral a while ago, so basically the goal of the event was for players to land a plane of their choice on High Admiral's Battlestar. Unfortunately, the event did not go as planned, and the Battlestar's collision was bugged to hell and back, meaning players couldn't actually land on the Battlestar. But fortunately, High Admiral decided that flying through the Battlestar and slowing down enough was enough. 29 people were successful in that task. The winners were given a Viper Mark III each, making the Viper Mark III one of the most common event vehicles. As a side note, I actually was one of those 29 people and I left the game without saving the Viper in my inventory. Contractors and contributors. These are roles in the Aeronautica development staff. Contractors are the lowest tier of people who produce assets for the game, with contributors being one step up, although most contributors serve essentially as developers who haven't been promoted to full developers. The database. This can either refer to the Aeronautica database or the in-game database. Both are resources for looking up plane statistics. Secret airports. There are several. They're not marked on the map, now go and find them. Group wall. This refers to the Aeronautica group wall, a place where the highest brain-celled Aeronautica players come together to talk about all things aircraft and all things aero. Cow cubes. They're cubes. They resemble cows. They fly. I'm not even joking, they actually do fly. Black Sky. So, Black Sky was a very controversial Aeronautica content creator, and to say the very least, he came off as a bit immature, and he was eventually banned from the community. And after that, he decided to work on a game called Transport World with Orange Time Express, right? And he decided to learn Blender. Now, for some reason, he came back to Aero with a video that showed how to cheat in the game. Well, warning to not cheat in Aeronautica while showcasing cheats. And the co-owner of the project, Orange Time Express, like Transport World, kicked Black Sky from the project. I'm not sure what Black Sky is doing nowadays. Barry F A40 and Apache AH64D early release. These planes were released early on accident. That's pretty much it, although I do think the A40 was actually at Gaston, right? And then people bought it, and when they actually flew it, it became the Air Creation Racer. So that's pretty interesting. They're pretty neat plane. Pedos. Aeronautica has seen its fair share of pedophiles on the Discord server and in-game. The moderation team has done a stunning job of trying to stop such perverse behavior. If you see such behavior in-game or in the Aeronautica Discord server, please report it to the moderators as soon as possible. Use the ticketing tool function to make sure that your reports are heard. The Aeronautica Archives. The Archives is a small Discord server dedicated to preserving important user messages either in-game or in the Discord server. As a result, the server has amassed quite a great deal of somewhat questionable messages from server members throughout its lifespan. And I'm gonna be honest, 90% of the images here that you see here are probably gonna be from the archives. I think. That's just a guess. Saga. Saga was a pretty well-known user in the Aeronautica Discord. Basically, they would post pictures of the Saga Cat meme non-stop. It got so bad to the point that he was actually given his own channel called #Saga to post pics on it. When to sell? This was a product of hype surrounding the release of the Thessaloniki. I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. I don't have the full name in the script. It's just like to sell, and then I slammed the keyboard a few times. It looks like. Anyways, basically that phrase meant when is it coming? When is it going to be released? Devs spawning their characters in. So yeah, developers can actually do this. And since Aeronautica is set on a very small scale, player characters are absolutely massive. Yeah, that's pretty much it. April Fool's update. This refers to joke updates that Aeronautica developers do every April Fool's. They typically create a very silly update with a bunch of jokes thrown in for around the day. Last year there was Troll Zeppelins. This year we have EFA-18s. Or just AWACS radar dishes on every single aircraft and boat. Devs are unpaid. I do believe this was the case for quite a while, but recently that policy has changed and all staff members actually do get compensation in the form of Robux for their work. Kitesboro Tower has devs on it. So I'm pretty sure the tall tower at Kitesboro Airport has miniature scale models of developer avatars on it. So that's pretty neat. Some devs are real life pilots. So some developers of Aeronautica are actually pilots in real life. I went over this in much more detail in the previous Iceberg. Old Trello. Before the multi-Trello setup we have today for Aeronautica, there was actually a single Trello that was basically all the Trellos today combined into a single Trello. And it got too big and then they had to split it up because the game was evolving really quickly. Mod Nuke Bypass. Originally, the mod panel had the option to drop a nuclear bomb in the game. Now that was a problem, because that feature was supposed to be locked to developers and above. After very intense abuse of the button, the bug was patched. VTOLs. Vehicles of this type are planned to be added to Aeronautica, but the VTOL flying mechanics are still being worked on. I think at this point, a bunch of them are just waiting for approval by Hyprin. But don't quote me on that. Craftables in dealer. The Antonov 225, the SR-71, and the H-4 used to be able to be bought in the dealerships of the airports they were originally sold at. However, these planes were removed from the dealership in the same update that brought the WP mechanic to Aeronautica. DDEV Purge. This actually refers to the time when a bunch of developer vehicles were removed, such as the Death Star, the ISD, the Battlestar. Basically just all the large vehicles were removed and only the smaller scale dev vehicles remained. A-Court. Acor was a prominent user on the Aeronautica Discord, eventually leading one of the larger airlines, DKCA, more on that later. Long story short, he got banned for sending people very suspicious IP grabber links. And now he's back again after like 6 or 7 months, so that's pretty cool, I guess. The Dark Zone. Kensai's cow cube. So one day, a long time ago, Kensai was in Valawai. He clicked on the dealership and saw a cow cube on sale. Words cannot describe how fast he clicked the buy button. Anyways, I think he's the only person that bought the cow cube while it was on sale. Now, it has been removed from the dealership of Valawai, so don't camp there for 24 days in a row. And it has been restricted to event only. Jackie Peanut's disappearance. This refers to Jackie Peanuts, an ex-staff member and a prominent community member's hiatus from Aeronautica. It looks like he's back now. Alright, I'm just gonna call this DKCA. So basically founded by the above mentioned Acor, DKCA was also known as TWA for quite a while. And it was one of the largest Aeronautica airlines. I think it was like second or third to like Tin Trades and Vesta. And this was a very, very large operation. Anyways, DKCA went through a ton of drama with other airlines, Air Canada, and eventually it disbanded. And now it's back again. They're trying to resurrect it. Aviarex, so ex-owner of Air Canada Aeronautica, they and Acor went into a huge beef with each other, which resulted in Aviarex leaving the community. For more info, refer to the previous Iceberg where I go over the drama in more detail. Saltism's mortar. A frequenter of General Saltism, or Absorb 10, found, and I quote, half of a disarmed mortar in his garage. How that's possible, I do not know. Blaze Mod, Infinite Skies, and Wings World 5 revived. These are all previous attempts for the revival of Wings World. Now, I do believe these games all had a decent player base while they were alive, but now they're dead and unsupported. High Admiral's person model. This was an aircraft created by Admiral. It resembled a true-scale person. A pilot of the person could move it like a taxiing aircraft and follow actual planes around and spectate them, and whatever else board developers on Aeronautica do. Cheating in events is a fact that people have at least cheated in some events, either by doctoring footage they submit for those type of events, or using cheating software to gain an unfair advantage in other events such as hide and seek. Liquila. So the reason why the co-author of this iceberg, Tylenol, put their name on the iceberg is because they wanted to raise awareness of what happened to Liquila. So apparently they disappeared for quite a while and went on hiatus after getting really sick with COVID and pulmonary fibrosis, and then they had university to deal with, and then military service to deal with after university. So yeah, that's a pretty wild ride. Claire/Strawberry incident. I actually didn't know what this was, so I asked the co-author of the iceberg, Tylenol, and they said that, quote, basically a girl called Claire/Strawberry landed staff position with like 10 messages, ended up trying to seduce some of the higher-ups, got smited for it. How that happens, I do not know. Hardened Tower Among Us strip music. Yes, this is real. No, it's not really funny. But on the top of the Hardened Tower, the tallest building in the city next to Hardened Airport, would play the Among Us strip music. If I remember correctly, you can listen to it from the airport by simply putting your camera near the top of the tower. Take a listen. Of course I'm not going to play the actual Among Us strip song, I don't want to get copyrighted. Certs. Certs was a contributor for the game. He made some props for the game, but at the same time, he was also harassing community members and allegedly blackmailed staff members. On top of that, his models apparently had high triangle counts, which made computers die when trying to render it. For the harassment, he was banned from the game, although the crappy models did not help the staff team's opinion of him either. Dev Barn. Ever since the reveal of the Mail Show Secret Airport, people have been looking for others. There was a rumor going around that there was a secret airport disguised as a barn somewhere on Avalon, and it contained a dealership that will allow developers and moderators to buy all the staff vehicles. In my opinion, I do not believe that it was real. I actually do believe that this was a ploy for people to forget Milshow, because that was actually where all the dev planes are. Or were. Now they just spawned them in using the spawn menu. Cineac drama. So basically, there's a large Roblox YouTuber called Cineac. I went over this in my previous Iceberg, I'm pretty sure. Anyways, he played Aero a few times, but there was a large group of people who decided to harass him because they didn't really like, like how, I guess, childish his content was aimed. Like, of course Roblox content is gonna aim at children. What did you expect? Anyways, he eventually left, and it doesn't look like he's actually going to make another Aeronautica video anytime soon, so that's kind of sad. Airlines Part 2. The Airlines feature is planned to be implemented in multiple parts. Right now, we're still on Part 1, so Part 2 would be the next part of the update, which will add new features to Airlines, but it doesn't look like the update is going to be released anytime soon. Latchy was originally a mod. Before becoming a developer, he used to be a moderator for Aeronautica, but eventually decided to switch to the developer route after getting bored of moderating. Dio's trolley bus event still gives me PTSD to this day. Basically, Dash, one of the most prolific Aeronautica developers, had a little event where everyone would drive around in a hardcore trolley bus simulation game. In short, this game was DCS for trolley buses. Anyways, the game wasn't even finished, and it took literally hours to get outside of the trolley bus yard. Thus, this event was called off. There was a lot of complaints to deal after the event, but those who did not complain after the event received an event plane of their choice from DL for participating. I think most people picked the SO72, but I'm not actually sure. I remember watching over one of the servers for DL, and it was a bloody nightmare. Anyways, moving on, Linwood being planned forever. Linwood's release was actually planned for a long time. It was in the original Wings world, but the revamped version for Aeronautica was released only a few months ago. Old Aether. It used to be a high-tech looking futuristic location for Aeronautica. It was unmarked, but players can stumble upon it by flying from Eno to Valoi. It was literally nuked off the map, and it no longer exists. The Deep Abyss. Unreleased planes available to the public. This refers to a bunch of unreleased airplanes that have gotten into non-staff hands through various ways. For example, the CL-823 and the ATSF-3, both explicitly mentioned in the Iceberg, were obtained by me for a while for review purposes and then later given to Orange Time Express. Also for review purposes. Archives raid. A while ago, the Aeronautica Archives was raided by the Aeronautica staff team, although several staff members were actually longtime members of the server, including me at one point. Basically, the staff team weren't really happy with what was happening in the archive server, and they were also concerned that staff members were actually leaking development information onto the archives, which was later proved to be not true because the images were taken from public sources and they were leaked onto general first before going onto the archives. The Norman Cross. TLDR, things happened. I'll read the entire Trello entry here. It is one of these days when, regardless of who starts the initiative, that be a staff or a regular member, that a random aircraft starts doing random crap at a runway. Another person takes note and also starts doing random crap. This shenanigan, if sometimes lucky, grows like a viral trend, and sooner or later, anywhere up to half the server joins into, you guessed it, a major piece of crap. These aren't common. Even if they were common, no one will ever think of joining in. No one wants a few dozen solo parties crashing the server. When server crashing, it's better to have rarer but massive parties, filled to the brim with afterburner SSTs, nosediving flying boats, and the occasional moderator adding a bonfire to the mix. Original islands before remodels. Originally, Aeronautica only had Oconee and a few airports in islands around it. Those islands were directly ported from Wings World 5. Of course, that meant that the islands didn't look particularly good, so the developers decided to remodel all of the islands, and now they look absolutely fire. Capitio. I'm not even sure that's how I'm supposed to pronounce his name. He's a rather eccentric member of the community. Capitio was renowned for his antics, and he was banned, but I think he returned to the community later. Captain Pune. Captain Pune is a longtime staff member of Aeronautica. He was one of the OGs on the staff team. Nowadays, he just lurks in staff chat. Singler. Singler was one of the first people to actually play Aeronautica. Back then, Aiden Tornado used to sell 747 Rolls-Royce for 150k per pop before inflation. So Singler got themselves one of those and basically started flexing the plane to no end. When Seniac decided to give Aeronautica a try at creating content, Singler was actually responsible for coordinating much of the harassment directed against Seniac, and he was banned for doing so. Skyscoot and Nubo. So these were rather prolific players of Aeronautica during their times in the community. They were responsible for quite a bit of memes and lore prominent in the community at the time. I think Nubo was banned because he, quote, talked mad about Trace, one of the admins, and Skyscoot was fired from the staff team, probably because of the same reason, but don't quote me on that. Firel and Bobber's temporary retirement. Basically, these two moderators went on a hiatus for a few months temporarily. I guess they wanted to take care of their personal life or something and came back later. I can't really argue against that. Twin Towers and Hangar. On the Aeronautica Hangar screen, there is what appears to be a replication of the iconic Twin Towers. In reality, this is actually two very unfortunately placed towers of similar height. Livery planes. Before the rollout of customizable liveries, there were actually a few planes that had liveries on them by default. The most iconic one was the 747RR with the British Airways livery. There was also the Air New Zealand 777 and the VestaJet A350. Minus 37 kilometers kill zone. If you fly below minus 37 kilometers, you will die and get sent back to the spawn menu. This was found out by the Iceberg's, the other co-author of the Iceberg, Random Watermelon, when he got bored and decided to hold down F for 5 hours straight on a Hindenburg before they patched that bug. Old End Heathrow. This refers to Old End Heathrow International Airport. If I recall correctly, it is the old clearance airport model moved to a faraway continent. Since the Avalon update, it has been replaced with an airport that resembles Heathrow in real life. Blue plus rarity not showing up in dealers. This was a mechanic of the game in the olden days, really freaking olden days. Basically anything above blue rarity, including blues, would not show up on the dealership unless if it was in stock. This meant being able to buy a blue rarity plane or higher was a genuine shock to most people. It also meant that locations of orange rarity planes were a secret for quite a while, as they were not denoted on the aircraft database and airports did not show it either. Hardin, previously named Harding, I explained this in my previous Iceberg, TLDR. They changed the name so it doesn't get tagged by filters. Norman early release. There was a vote to decide whether Norman or Tizelle would be released first. Tizelle won, but Norman was released first by almost 4 months. Ah yes, the illusion of choice. Bitstrip's MiG-27K. He won it from writing an essay for High Admiral, one of the admins. It was a competition. I'm not going to talk about this any farther. I don't know how to explain this. Just read the post. The Cold Void. Placeholder airports from Wings World 5 evolved. When Aeronautica was first released, the airports in the game were ported directly from Wings World 5 evolved. Eventually, the airports were revamped one by one before new airports were added. Wings World 4, Norman, and Linwood. Norman and Linwood actually existed in Wings World 4, the predecessor of Aeronautica. Aeronautica Discord is a penal colony. This is a joke entry for the most part, pointing out that some Aero frequenters are actually banned on some of Hyperin's other games like Neo, Stardust, Rise of Nations, etc. So why? So how do I begin to explain this? He was the developer, owner of an airline in the game, and he was also a neo-Nazi. So when the devs actually found that out, they speedrun banning Zwei any percent glitchless. So yeah, he's no longer a part of the staff team. AAA will always be a trial mod. This is someone that I unfortunately never got the chance to talk to, but apparently he was a very nice and helpful guy who lent himself a trial mod position. But he had too many things in real life and never managed to make time for the moderator position, so he was removed from the trial mod position. Every general frequenter is gay. This is a joke entry. YT, please don't give me a community guideline strike for this, I beg. Pineapples. I explained this in my last Iceberg, but essentially pineapples were OG players from Wings World 5, and they decided to put pineapple in their name to symbolize that. Aero was a pretty famous player while they were in the Aeronautica community. They actually accumulated a vast collection of WP and also dev and event vehicles. Anyways, if I recall correctly, they got banned after sending a picture of their own poop in the toilet. How does a normal person get to that point in life? I do not know. Random Watermelon won 6 bans. The co-author of this Iceberg, Random Watermelon, has actually been banned at least 6 times, both seriously and jokingly, from the Aeronautica Discord, and he came back after all of those bans. Stanley's OP triplane. I went over this in my last Iceberg, but in short, allegedly it is the first developer vehicle ever added into the game. Now removed, the only proof of its existence is a single screenshot of it in the hangar. Aboria Air Force Base. Aboria Air Force Base refers to an airport in Hex Fury's mod of Wings World 5 called Blaze Mod. Diesel Breath is a fanboy. Real, actually real, trust. Hyperin has a flight-worthy Lapcat A2. This refers to the large plane seen in the Milshow estate. This is a concept plane called the Lapcat A2, and there have been sightings of Hyperin flying a flyable version of the plane, whereas the one in Milshow is just a prop. Starshine. Starshine was a pseudonym for a member on the Aeronautica development team who went by Dusky. I'm not exactly sure what happened to them, but it looks like they got up and left the team one day. Rule 16. It's Rule 16. Do I need to explain this? I think you understand. It's Rule 16. Simple as that. Anyways, that is the end of the Iceberg. Clocking in at, 32 minutes? If you like this video, subscribe, like, comment down below. I'm going to Florida for spring break, so probably I can't really actually record any videos in Florida, but my plan is to have recorded a HSTVL gameplay video, and I'm praying the content is good. So expect that while I try to figure out how to use Adobe Premiere Express somewhere in Florida with an iPad and use Photoshop with an iPad, which is probably going to be an absolutely horrible experience that I definitely will not try to repeat ever again. I am really praying that I get some good content out of the HSTVL video, or at least the recording session, because I can probably only dedicate an hour to it at most. And, I learned some cheeky flanking techniques and autocannon techniques like a day ago, and I'm gonna try to use it and pray that nothing bad happens. Although it is tier 10, and the XM274 isn't exactly that powerful at that tier, so who knows.